Good afternoon, everyone. Let's look at some Big Waaagh lists. So up first I have my list. This is what I'm playing right now in my league, and it's going pretty good. I'm 3-0. I'm going up against Soulblight Gravelords next week. That should... we'll see how that does, but so far I'm really liking this list, so I'm going to walk you through it. I got 4 lists that I want to show you. So, up first, so it's... my grand strategy is Wagh, and the Triumph is Indomitable. It's going to be the same in every list. The reason that I like Indomitable is because it allows me on like turn 1 or turn 2 to give that +1 to wound to my units, or to a unit. So this is good if you're going to do like a Gore Grunt to teleport on turn 1, right? With all-out attack, or with Iron Jaw's Fist, and then Indomitable, you can still be on that, like, you know, 2s and 2s, and then hopefully with Hoarfrost and with Violent Fury, and you're still going to be hitting as hard as you will later in the game. So I tend to like Indomitable. So my general is an Orc Weird Knob Shaman, and with Master of Magic, but Shaman of the Chilled Lands is another option. I like the consistency of Master of Magic. When I want the teleports to go off, I want the teleports to go off. So that's good. And then the spells to Great Big Green Handed Gork, of course. We're running Gobsprak, an Auric Megaboss on foot with the Artifact Destroyer. Auric War Chanter with Fix and Beat. The Fix and Beat is primarily for the Wargog Prophet so that he can use his... Like, early in the game, I'm using Here We Go for my heroic action. But later in the game, I'm using the Heroic Recovery and Fix and Beat to hopefully heal up the Wargog Prophet so that he can go use his mask and deal a ton more damage again. Then, of course, we have a Swamp Kala Shaman with Blizzard. Gobsprak tends to cast, like, Sneaky Miasma Choking Mist, or, like, Sneaky Miasma Hex later in the game, or Mystic Shield and Choking Mist. So I'm fighting with a Swamp Kala Shaman. It's just nice to have that Blizzard sitting in the backline to kill anything that comes into my castle. Then a Wargog Prophet with Hoarfrost and Glowing Tattoos. Hoarfrost is really solid. Ardboys with Stickas, another unit of Ardboys with Stickas. A reinforced unit of Brutes with Hackas. So I really have like 3 solid lines of defense for my castle, right? I got the 2 units of Ardboys, and then the units of Brutes tend to sit and zone out the back line, because they make for really good teleport targets a little bit later in the game, or they make for good countercharge slap back if something does decide to come into my castle. And then a unit of Manscure Bolt Boys and a unit of Gore Gruntas. For battalions, I have an Andorian Acolyte battalion. This is with my what is it? Andorian Acolytes. This is with my Swamp Kala Shaman and my General, so I'm gonna... That, to me, this is very important. I have a Warlord Battalion, which is my War Chanter, my Wargog Prophet, and Gobsprak, and then also the Manscure Bolt Boys. So that's really, really good for getting that extra enhancement. If you're gonna run a Mega Boss on foot and a Wargog, I feel like Warlord is mandatory. If you don't, it's not. Like, I don't use Battle Regiment in my Big Waaagh lists, but if you're not running a Mega Boss and a Wargog Prophet, then I think you can definitely go with a Warlord Battalion, or sorry, with a, not a Warlord Battalion, with a Battle Regiment instead. But, I don't know, once you're like more than 4 drops, just lean into it, you know. Then, I also have Wizard Finder. This has actually been proving to be pretty good, because it's my Mega Boss in the Wizard Finder, and it's my reinforced unit of Brutes. So if there's any big wizard on the field, I'm normally going to be trying to throw either Brutes or Gore Gruntas at it from the side, right? Like a teleport and then a Mighty Destroyer's charge, right? Because it probably has to die. If they have a wizard in their backline, it probably has to die. And so getting +1 attacks against a wizard, especially if it's a big wizard, is very, very helpful, because I'm usually by this point getting +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And then with Violent Fear, I'm getting +1 damage, and I'm getting a Rend with Hoarfrost, because both of those, the Brutes aren't great Hoarfrost targets, but the Mega Boss is actually a fairly decent Hoarfrost target. So getting +1 attacks, especially with the on the on the little pigs, on the gruntas, is actually pretty decent. So, and then I throw just everything else into Ironjaw's Fists, which gives me +1 attack. And the same idea as I was mentioning with Indomitable, it gives me that free all-out attack before I'm getting table-wide all-out attack. Like before I'm getting the Big Waaagh passive +1 to hit for all my melee attacks. It's actually useful on like turn 1, turn 2 to save on command points. And so that's it. I mean, I got my lines. Everything in my list does damage. Everything in my list does damage, except for maybe the Auric Weird Knob Shaman. Gobsprak doesn't really deal a ton of damage, right? But he's a really good cleanup crew. You know, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, cleaning up a unit and nabbing objectives. That's okay. The Mega Boss with Destroyer does a ton of damage. Swamp Collar Shaman has Blizzard. The Wargog Prophet has a Stare. The Ardboys actually deal pretty good damage if you're charging into them, especially when they have +1/+1. Like +1 to hit, +1 to wound. Brutes obviously deal a ton of damage. Bolt Boys deal a ton of damage. Gore Gruntas deal a ton of damage. Like, my damage output in this list is really, really, really high. It's been pretty fantastic. Big fan. 1990 out of 20. I wouldn't change a thing. I feel like this is a very good all-around Big Waaagh list. If you're not really sure what to play with Big Waaagh and you're just kind of getting into it, or you want to dip your toe in the water, this I feel like is a good starting place. Alternatively, another good starting place is what I call my Snatcha Boss list. So we still have Waaagh as our Grand Strat, Indomitable for the same reasons, but we've changed our General. Our General is now a Snatcha Boss on Sludge Raker Beast with the command trait Super Sneaky. What I'm doing with Super Sneaky is I'm either going to put Gobsprak within Unbind range, which is really nasty. I actually played a game yesterday against like a Trog Gloomspite Gits list, like just with a friend of mine, and what I did was I deployed Gobsprak first on the battlefield on the left side. And then my opponent was like, oh, okay, right? Like measuring where Gobsprak was, making sure that all his wizards were outside of 30. And then when I deployed the rest of my castle, I just left a spot for Gobsprak right in the middle. And then when I Super Sneaky, I just moved Gobsprak right into the center of the castle within 30 of every caster that he had on the table. Really great move. You can also Super Sneaky things like Bolt Boys, or you can Super Sneaky Hobgrots, or you can Super Sneaky, like there's lots of different options. The important thing is that you have a plan. For mount trait, I went with Smellian. I find that with the Snatcha Boss that, like, Fasten is always good. In fact, I should just put in brackets here, Fasten. Fasten is always a good choice, but adding a little bit more survivability to the General is good. For that same reason, you could also go with Egomaniac here, but I feel like Super Sneaky is just more fun. So you can go with Smellian, which gives -1 to hit if people are charging into you. If the Snatcha Boss did not make a charge move that turn, then the opponent has -1 to hit against you. And the likelihood that, you know, the Snatcha Boss, what it really wants to do is it wants to sit behind a line of Ardboys, because the Snatcha Boss has quite a fair number of decent attacks that have a 3-inch range, so are going to reach over the Ardboys and get into the other thing. And then if any big monster's crashing into the Ardboys and trying to hit the Snatcha Boss in the same way over the Ardboys, well, they're going to have -1 to hit. So it feels pretty good to me. Still have a Wargog Prophet with Hoarfrost and Blizzard. You'll see that this is marked in gray because when it comes to enhancements and other things, there's some options that I'm going to discuss at the end. So this is the option that I went with, but this is what you would be removing in exchange for other Warlord enhancement options. A Swamp Collar Shaman with Blizzard, and then Hoarfrost. Auric Weird Knob Shaman with the Great Green Hand of Gork, and Blizzard as a second spell. Gobsprak, and then a War Chanter with Fix and Beat. Again, this is just to heal the Wargog, but you can also heal the Snatcha Boss. You can also heal, or can you? Or is it only for? Normally, I'm just always healing the Wargog. Yeah, I mean, like, that seems pretty good to me. I am a fan. A unit of Ardboy Stickas, same thing, where they're going to be charging into us. This is probably going to be sitting out in front of the Snatcha Boss. And then 2 units of non-reinforced Brutes. This is just to fill the battle line requirement. A Beast Skewer Killbow. I think this is another, this should really be gray in this list as well. This list is more like my shooting list because I'm running a Sludge Raker, right? Like, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, I'll lean into Cruel Boys a little bit, but this 80 points here, this could easily be a unit of Hobgrots. This could be an Endless Spell. And then in this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's really what it can be, right? Hobgrots or an Endless Spell. And that's cool. Unit of 6 Bolt Boys to go with the Swampcalla Shaman, and then a unit of Gore Gruntas. So here we have an Endorian Acolytes Battalion. That's going to be a common theme in all my Big Waaagh lists. A Warlord Battalion. Oops. So the Warlord Battalion here is interesting because this is where, like in my previous list, you know, I said that if you have a Mega Boss on foot or a Mega Boss just in general and a Wargog Prophet, that you'll Warlord is mandatory here. So it's not really mandatory here. And then we have a couple of Ironjaw Fist battalions, because like I said, I just fill it in at the end. I can't do a Wizard Finder in this list. So for that extra Warlord spell enhancement, I need to slow down. I need to slow down my speech. For the Warlord extra enhancement, I chose spell enhancement. The reason is because when my Wargog wants to use the Stare ability or the Wargog Mask ability, I'm not getting a chance to cast Hoarfrost. So if the Swampcalla Shaman also has Hoarfrost, it means that he just has this other option. He can do Summon Boggy Mist, Hoarfrost, or Blizzard. It provides me a little bit more flexibility. I have a lot of good Hoarfrost targets in these lists. Big Waaagh has some good Hoarfrost targets. So, I mean, Ardboy's on the charge, right? Yeah, lots of good options. So if I'm not casting Blizzard, I can cast Hoarfrost and then I can still Stare. So I'm sort of getting all of the things that I want. It's just a little bit more flexibility. Same with the Weird Knob Shaman. If I don't want to teleport, if something's coming close, I have Blizzard. It's just more threats, more damage. And when the Wargog Prophet, if he's hurt, if he has 6 wounds on him and you don't want to Stare with him, you can Blizzard. You can Blizzard. And you can Foot of Gork. So he's still going to output lots of damage. It's great. And then another option would be for artifacts of power. So on the Sludge Raker Beast, you could throw an artifact of power on him. You could throw Beast Kill a Slop if you feel like there's going to be a lot of monsters in your meta. That can be pretty cool. Or you can throw Mork's Eye Pebble on someone to reduce the mortal wounds from shooting. Again, this depends on the meta that you're playing in. But overall, good list, right? Like I like this list too. I played it last night, had a lot of success. It was a lot of fun. It's nice having another monster that's actually going to get into the fight and actually deal some damage, because Gobsprat doesn't do that, right? He tends to just fly around. So that's cool. The next list that I have, I call the MSU list. This is multiple small units, or I can't remember what MSU stands for. There's 2 that people throw around all the time, and both are fine. But the idea with this list is there's going to be a lot of units that are going to be charging in to rack up Waaagh points really quickly. So this is the most aggressive, I'm gonna come to you version of Big Waaagh for lists that I like. So again, Waaagh Indomitable, the Auric Weird Knob Shaman is our general. Pretty standard, either Master of Magic, Shaman of the Chill Lands, the Great Big Green Hand of Gork. We have Gobsprat, we have a Mega Boss with Destroyer, an Auric War Chanter with Fix and Beat, Wargog Prophet with Glowing Tattoos. We have 2 units of Brutes. Sorry, we have 3 minimum units of Brutes, all with Hakkas. Then we have a Beast Skewer Killbow, but this, to be honest, is probably not the right choice in this list because we're trying to be super aggressive with our models. But as you see, it's marked in gray, so I have some other options below. Then we have 2 units of Core Gruntus, so that's cool. And then 2 units of Brute Ragers, who can run and charge, who deal the most damage per point of anything in our book, without any reinforcements or artifacts, right? So again, they're just gonna charge in, and that's fantastic. We have an Endorian Acolytes Battalion, a Warlord Battalion, and then we have 3 Ironjaw Fist Battalions. So again, this is just those all-out attacks. You know, you'll try to use one on turn 1. Whatever's going in on turn 1 for, you know, these units gets all-out attack, you know, from Ironjaw's Fist, and then whatever goes in turn 2 is going to get all-out attack from Ironjaw's Fist, and then after that, everything's going to be stacked up. There's just nothing better to do. We have, like, you know, we have so many units, and Ironjaw's Fist is so easy to do because all that you need for an Ironjaw's Fist core battalion is 2 Ironjaw's troops, so they just can't be leaders, artilleries, or behemoths. So Brutes, Ardboys, Gore Gruntas, Ragers, all you need is for every 2 that you have, you get an Ironjaw's Fist battalion. It's fun when you're like, yeah, I have 4 battalions in my list, or 5 battalions in my list. This one has 5. 3 Ironjaw Fist, and then 2 more at the top. So instead of this Beast Skewer Killbow, there's a few different options. You could run the Killbow, or you could run a Wardock, because this list only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heroes. If you take a Wardock is 80 points, and can just cast Blizzard. You can just put Blizzard on a Wardock, and then he's just gonna run up the battlefield with whoever's around, with whatever battle line unit you want, so that he still has Lookout Sir protection, and then if anything comes crashing in, you're like, well, here's an 80-point wizard cast in Blizzard. Seems good to me. You could also throw a Hobgrot unit in there and do whatever, like it's just another screen, it's 10 more feet on objectives, that's cool. Or you could throw in 1 or 2 endless spells. Because it's 80 points, unfortunately, you can't do like Pendulum and Geminids, but you could do Ravenous Jaws, right? So another thing, like the Wardock can run up the battlefield and cast Jaws at the opponent, or cast Geminids at the opponent, right? So, or actually, I guess you can't. I guess you can't do both. But you could. Gobsprak loves Jaws. Gobsprak loves these. Gobsprak loves to do like Sneaky Miasma into an endless spell. If you've never done it before, it's great. Gobsprak can be back. You move 14 inches up, you cast Ravenous Jaws at something slow, and then on your turn, you just move him 14 inches right back where he was. Or Geminids is great, right? OBR is the thing, so. And then last but not least, I have my Mega Boss on Maw Crusher list. This is just because I love the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, and sometimes I want to play it. So we have our general is an Orc Weird Knob Shaman, again with Shaman of the Chilled Lance or Master of Magic, the Hand of Gork. Gobsprak, Mega Boss on Maw Crusher with Destroyer and Fasten, super classic, lots of fun. Wargog Prophet with Glowy Tattoos and Hoarfrost, pretty standard. And then we're running 2 War Chanters, one with Fix and Beat and one with Get 'em Beat. We're going to be a little bit more aggressive here, and then I do believe one of the reasons too is to get that Warlord Battalion, I needed to have another little foot hero, and I had exactly 120 points left, so. Then we're running a reinforced unit of Brutes with Hakkas, a unit of Ardboys with Choppas, and then another single unit of Brutes with Hakkas, and then a single unit of Gorgruntas with Hakkas. This list is going to have the fewest actual units on the table. We're still running, you know, the Acolytes, Warlord, and the 2 Ironjaw's Fist Battalion, but a lot of our points are stuck in the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, which means that you need to be super effective with his use. Like, he really needs to do a lot of damage and get a lot done in this list, or else the list is going to flop. Of all the lists, I believe this one to be the weakest. My 2 favorites are going to be the one that I'm running right now. Obviously, like, that's what I chose, so that's obviously going to be my preference. And the Snatcha boss list, I think, is also very good. And then the MSU list and the Maw Crusher list, I think, are more just for fun. They're a little bit weaker, and it kind of depends on your personal play style. If you really want that Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, like, here's the list. And if you want to just like charge up like you're playing Ironjaws, that you can do that too. I have a feeling that this MSU Big Waaagh list might be better than Dechappas and Iron Suns in Ironjaws, because we're just going to have more damage output, because we have things like, you know, we have Gobsprak, we have a Wargog Prophet, we have, you know, like, we can have a Killbow if we want. So really good lists overall. I'm a big fan. I mean, Big Waaagh is slamming it right now. They just are doing so fantastically well, and I hope you're playing them. If you're into orcs and you're not playing Big Waaagh, like, you know, it's definitely worth putting some proxies on the table and having a go, because it is a really fun army to play. It's nice with list building too, right? Like, you can just have kind of everything that you want on the table. Anyway, that's it. So like, subscribe, and don't forget to Wagh.